أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وخاتم النبيين حبيبنا وحبيب إليه العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على وعلى طيبين الطاهرين المعصومين ولا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين واللعنة الدائم على أعدائهم أجمعين إلى يوم الدين. Assalamu alaikum to the brothers and sisters. May inshallah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has accepted our fasting. May inshallah this fasting lead to hikmat and ma'rifah and yaqeen in our hearts, as we mentioned in the lectures previous. As every night is approaching, alhamdulillah, we're reaching to this complete answer, this holistic approach that we've had to what fasting and what the month of Ramadan is, and what actually is the reason that we came here on this earth, and what is intended by each ibadah that we have. So alhamdulillah, we're reaching a reason. Just to sum up, because it might be that it's a bit difficult to understand and keep up, of course, with a few lectures. And inshallah, we're approaching to the Qadr nights and the importance of Qadr night, which inshallah, the first question that I mentioned on the first lecture, what is Laylatul Qadr, will be answered inshallah there with the help of the Ma'sumin alayhi salam. So of course, Laylatul Qadr is a question that is still there and we're trying to answer inshallah tomorrow. However, this question of fasting, if we look at it generally, so we understood that actually all of these ibadat that we do, all these prayers and fasting and so on and so forth, is supposed to help me, is supposed to build me, it's supposed to affect me in a way where when it comes to the moment that I need to become a human being, I need to be an insan, I need to control myself, I need to control like what I say, not to upset others, I need to control the thinking that I have, what I think about others and what about the way I act with others. In that moment, this prayer helps me. And we understood that this fasting is special. It's not like any other ibadat. It's taking you away from this materialistic realm. It's making you understand more about what it actually is to be a spiritual being. Like I said, brothers and sisters, of course, we have in the hadith that, for example, fasting, one of the reasons is for you to understand how the hungry feel. Yes, of course. But it's more in depth than that. It's more deeper than that. It's understanding that, yes, I don't want to use from the domain that is the materialistic realm, and I want to go a step higher than this. What is happening to me is that I'm using less of this world, so I'm lighter. I'm lighter. And we can see this. Why does a balloon, a helium balloon, go up? It's lighter. The more solid object you give to a helium balloon, the lower it goes. So you, connect a brick into it, on the bottom of it. You connect a brick. You need a bigger balloon, a bigger, more helium, and so on and so forth to get this brick off the floor. In Ramadan, you're cutting these bricks away. You're becoming less materialistic. You're using less. This opens you up more. But then let's not forget the main thing. Like we said, alayka bis-samt was-sawm. Let's not forget that this main purpose was for you to get spiritual. So what? What do? I correct myself. I purify myself. This opportunity, this spring that we mentioned, causes me not to hurt others. It causes me to have good intentions about others. Have husn zan. Think good about others. Not always think, okay, this person said this to me, that's why they meant this, and I'm offended now, and so on and so forth. There's a true story about Sayyid Bahrul Ulum. He needs no introduction. Probably everyone has heard of Sayyid Bahrul Ulum. If I want to introduce who Sayyid Bahrul Ulum is, it's enough to say that he's famous for being what? The friend of the Imam, Imam Zaman. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Ajalallahu ta'ala sharif. Ruhi wa arwahuna la maqdama infida. So, he's the friend. That's how close of a person he was. Sayyid Bahrul Ulum is one of those people that is very difficult to come by, and maybe will never come a person like him again. As one of the ulama would say, he's a beacon of Tawheed that we have seen no other person like this. There's two people that they mention. One is Sayyid Bahrul Ulum and another is Sayyid ibn Tawus. Two individuals that were extremely high, extremely. It's narrated that Sayyid Bahrul Ulum, his actual name is Mohamad Mahdi, that he was reading a book. Sayyid Bahrul Ulum was in Najaf, and there was an alim called Marhum Naraqi at the time, Naraqi, an Iranian scholar, which was in Iran. And he wrote a book called Mi'raj al-Sa'adah, an akhlaqi book. Marhum Naraqi is one of those amazing maraja that was a marja at the time, was a philosopher at the time, was a mutakallim at the time. There is only few in the Islamic history that a alim like Naraqi has come. Only very few. And he's written this book. Now, Mi'raj al-Sa'adah is obviously 3 volumes in Arabic. His son comes and summarizes this book in one volume, and now there's a Farsi version of the book in 1 volume. But the main one, the Marhum Naraqi wrote, is 3 volumes in Arabic. It's an akhlaqi book. It is a book on morals. So when Bahrul Ulum read this book, he thought, what an amazing book this is. We have never had a akhlaqi book like this before. By the way, one of the advices of Ayatollah Bahjat rahmatullah alayhi was to read this book, but half a page every day. Half a page every day. He meant the summarized version that his son wrote in Farsi. For the people that read Farsi, you can read the Arabic as well. It's original. Half a page, and act upon the thing that you learnt in that page. Only half a page a day. And Ayatollah Bahjat says here, you will see after a year and 2 years and 3 years, just like a small little dosage of medicine, you will see that you've become a whole different other person. This is the amazing thing about this book. So Sayyid Bahrul Ulum sees this book and he says, what an amazing book. He says that it's obvious that this person is a true alim, this person is of knowledge, and so on and so forth. Time goes by and Naraqi comes for ziyarat to Atabat, to Imam Ali alayhi salam and Imam Hussein's shrine. So he comes to Iraq. It is customary in between the ulama that when an alim, especially a big alim, comes to a city, the other ulama go to visit him. It's very famous between the ulama that, for example, if a marja from Najaf comes to Qom or from Qom to Najaf, the other ulama go to visit him and to show him respect. So Marhum Naraqi came to Najaf, and the place that he was staying, each alim came to visit him. Came to visit him and says, say hello and show some respect. They told Marhum Sayyid Bahrul Ulum that Naraqi, the one that you spoke about, that his book is so good and so on and so forth, he's come. He's in Najaf right now. And Sayyid Bahrul said, okay. He didn't pay attention. He said, you're not going to go see him? He said, no. And all of his students were a bit shocked. He said, you spoke about Naraqi so well, and you said he's an alim and so on and so forth, but they didn't say anything. So time went by. Time went by and Sayyid Bahrul Ulum did not go see Marhum Naraqi. And then it got to the time where it is customary for the person that everyone came to see him, now the alim goes on every other alim's house. So the visiting alim, the one that is in that city, he goes and sees each of the maraja that are, for example, in Najaf, and he goes and visits them and shows a sign of respect. So Marhum Naraqi slowly went for every of these ulama that came to see him, he went to their houses. And then he said, let's go to the house of Sayyid Bahrul Ulum. And his students say, why are you going to his house? He didn't come to see you. And Marhum Naraghi said, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, he didn't come to see. He's an Aqa. Aqa in Farsi means that he's very great. He's very great. Sayyid Bahrul Ulum. Do you not know how great he is? Let's go see him. So they go to see him. Now, when you enter Sayyid Bahrul Ulum's house, they've heard of each other's names, but they haven't seen each other face to face. And obviously back then there was no pictures to send on social media and then for you to see what they look like. So Sayyid Bahrul Ulum didn't know that he was Naraqi. Said as-salam, how are you? He sat down. Then his students told him that this is the same Naraqi that you said his book is so amazing and so on and so forth. And Sayyid Bahrul Ulum said, okay. And he left. He didn't say anything. Obviously, you're supposed to be very warm with the person. And he was extremely cold. He just sat down, didn't say anything, continued with his students. And Naraqi was sitting there. An hour or so went by. Naraqi got up, said goodbye and left. Again, some time went by. And Naraqi said, while we're in Najaf, it's a shame not to see Sayyid Bahrul Ulum one more time. Let's go see him. And his students say, why are you going to see him? Did you not see how cold he was with you? He said, no. What are you talking about? Sayyid Bahrul Ulum is Agha, let's go see him. So they go again. This time, Sayyid Bahrul Ulum was even more cold. Just said salam, nothing. And Naraqi went to sit down. He sat down again. A little bit while went by, and he got up, said goodbye and left. Now it got to the end of his trip. He's going back to Iran. And he says to his students, listen, I think it's a shame not to see Sayyid Bahrul Ulum one more time. A last time. We're going back to Iran, let's go see him. And they say, are you serious? He says, yes, of course, let's go see him. So that he goes again towards the house of Sayyid Bahrul Ulum. And then his students of Sayyid Bahrul Ulum tell him that Naraqi is coming to see you for the last time. It is narrated that Sayyid Bahrul Ulum leaves the house without shoes, without his abba, to the beginning of the road. As soon as he sees Naraqi, he grabs Naraqi and hugs him. He hugs Marhum Naraqi. And he says to him, I wanted to test you, to see you that are writing such an amazing book on akhlaq. Do you yourself act upon it as well? Is it just ink on a page, or no, is this ink on a page from a nafs that is pure? I tried to shake your bowl, I tried to shake it to see was there any mud on the bottom lying down, and I saw that you were nothing but pure. Nothing but pure. Some of us, brothers and sisters, unfortunately, when you get angry, it's not that someone else has said something to you. It's something within. There's a little bit of this murkiness, this mud. Someone's just shook you, but what's coming from yourself, that's within you. If you squeeze an orange, nothing will come out except orange juice. If someone squeezes you, what comes out? This is why it's important. When we say be careful, alayka bis-samt was-sawm, it's this what shows who you really are. When you are in the time of trouble, in the time of anger, that's where you show your true colors. What's within, not this act that we're acting. In those moments we understand, okay, who is this real person? Okay, I'm full, my stomach is full and I'm happy and my clothes are dry and so on and so forth, and I have no economical issue in my life and everything is amazing. Yeah, I'm a good person. But let bala come. In that moment, let life squeeze you hard and see then what happens to you. What happened to Abu Abdullah and the companions of Abu Abdullah? What squeezing, what more trouble was in Karbala? But out of each one of them, in those troubled times, what came out? One said, Ahlam and Asal. One said, I saw nothing but beauty. Ma ra'aytu illa jamila. One said, each one of them, let's go through what happened in Karbala. It was squeezing, it was the toughest times. But in this bowl, they showed that there was nothing but purity. There was nothing of purity. This is exactly what Marhum Naraqi showed. So Sayyid Bahrulum said to him, come. And he took him to his house, sat him at the front of the majlis, at the highest mode, and told him, please, Naraqi, say but a few words. And he sat down with 2 knees in front of him and said, give us a speech, teach us a little bit. Again, we have to understand who this is. This is Marhum Sayyid Bahrul Ulum saying this. He said, I wanted to see, did you, in your book, when you said that you need to have af of your brother, you need to forgive your brother, you need to think the best, even if you know for a fact that what they're doing is something wrong? No. Think that it's good. Think of the best thing about your brother. And I saw you did exactly that. You exactly did that. You had af. You had husn zan. You didn't think that what I'm doing is bad. You are more concerned with yourself than with others. That's the main point. You are more concerned with what you do than others. This is Marhum Narawi. It's important for us not to sit down and either make these lectures or listen to them if we're not going to act upon them. Otherwise, even if you're Marhum Naraqi, you're writing these on a book, it's just ink on paper. If it's not action, then what's the point for it? What's the point? You're actually doing israf, you're wasting the ink and the paper. Let's plan for it, let's use from this. When we ask Allah Azza wa Jal for dua, let's not only ask for riches and money and educational degrees and comfortable life. Let's ask for these. Oh Allah, please help me not to have anger if you have an anger problem. Please let me not have hisada if you have a jealousy problem. Please, oh Allah, help me that I do my prayers on time. Everything ask. Yes, of course, take action. That's a given. That's 100%. Of course you have to act as well. But who says you don't need to plead? You don't need to beg Allah. Because you need that as well. You need that as well. This is the important thing. And this month is exactly that month. This month is the month of what? Fixing yourself. Shaking this bowl, let's use the analogy of Sayyid Bahrulum, shaking this bowl, seeing what's the dirt inside it, what the mud is, and cleaning the mud out, taking this mud out, purifying this bowl that we have. Cleaning the bowl is one of the main things we need to do in this world. There's a alim, I don't know if the brothers and sisters have heard of him, Jahangir Khan Qashqahi, a very, very big alim that most of the maraja and the greatest maraja that we have had, he was their teacher. I'll give you one of his students, Ayatollah Burujerdi. Ayatollah Burujerdi was his student. This is how great of a man he was. It is narrated that until the age of 40, he was playing something called tar. We call it tar, which is actually not allowed in Islamic jurisprudence to actually play this instrument. At least most of the ulama have said it's haram to play tar. He's a musician. It's someone playing the guitar, for example. And one day he comes to Isfahan, and by the way, before Najaf and before Qom, the main hawza was in Isfahan. This is many years ago. This is in the time of, for example, Mullah Sadra and maybe before him. So maybe 700, 800 years ago. The main part of the hawza was in Isfahan. Later on it shifted to Najaf. And even before Isfahan, it was in Baghdad, in the time of Imam Kazim and Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. Okay? But these institutions of Shia jurisprudence and Hawza Ilmiya has changed throughout time. So at the time it was in Isfahan. And this person that is a musician at the time comes to the bazaar, the shopping mall, back days shopping mall, and he wanted to look for someone to fix the string on his tar. This instrument, it looks like a guitar, it has the strings. And the string had broken. And he comes to an old man, apparently this old man was a very spiritual person as well, and says to him, where can I fix this tar that I have, this string that I have on my instrument? And he says, well, I know where you can fix it. Go to street so and so, and there's a shop there, you can fix it. However, when are you going to fix the broken strings in your heart? And in that 1 second, this is something we call yaqzeh. It's like they hit him in the face hard, and he woke up from this sleep that he was in. He was like, what? Why? He was like, when are you going to fix yourself? The strings within you, when are you going to fix that? He said, where do they fix? The strings in the heart. And he says, well, there's a madrasa, there's a hawza over there, and they fix strings over there. He went inside it, and again, I'm not saying for anyone to get fixed here, everyone has to go hawza, of course not. I'm saying in this person's case. He went and he saw that it was a hawza. He went inside. It is narrated he did not come out after 10 years. So he went inside, didn't come out for 10 years. And he stayed and he studied and he repented and he asked for forgiveness and so on and so forth. So he became a marja that so many of the maraji later on were his students. This is Jahangir Khan. One small little thing he hears, but he has the ma'rifah to hold on. Hold on. How many things in today's day and age we hear from verses of the Quran and so on and so forth, but we forget. We forget. We truly forget. In Surah Hadid, there's an ayah where it says, is it not time for your hearts to say the zikr of Allah? It is narrated that ayah is intended for a person at the age of 18. Age of 18, is it not time? You've already had enough time for your heart to say the zikr of Allah, not your mouth to say the zikr of Allah. It is narrated that a person was trying to steal from a house. He was literally climbing the wall of the house to go and steal from the house. He heard this ayah. He heard this ayah and he thought to himself, it is time. It is time. And he came down. He came down and went back home. Back then there was something called a hawz, like a small little fountain in the middle of the garden. He would go around this fountain and keep on saying this ayah of Surah Hadid. Kept on repeating it until he passed out and died. The ulama at the time told their students, come, let's go and visit a person that became one of the awliya of Allah last night. They thought to themselves, who is he talking about? They went and saw he was the local thief. The local thief. With one word. With one word. How many opportunities, brothers and sisters, has it had for ourselves to come back, to change, to understand that we're limited. We don't even know if we're alive tomorrow, whatever age we are. When is it time? A famous hadith from Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib. Allah. Nisyanul maut sawda'ul qulub. Forgetting death, sawda is like black tar in your heart. Forgetting death is black tar for your heart. Don't forget death. Remember that you have limited time. This is what keeps you alive. Reminding yourself of death keeps you alive. The real life. Not this walking, coming and going that it doesn't make a difference if the person is dead or alive. Sometimes it's better for them to be dead. At least they don't sin. At least they don't sin. At least they don't do the ma'siyat of Allah. But what kind of a life would it be when I choose to not only not sin but elevate myself, use this world, because this world is the best place for growing. It is the world that is designed for growing. There is bala in it, there's problems in it, there's hardships in it, so on and so forth. It is the best place for you to grow. For your growth, what do you need? You need these a'mal. You need these a'mal also. Let's not be those people that come and say, oh, you don't need to pray and you don't need to fast. Your heart has to be pure. Please tell me then, what does pureness of heart mean? What does it mean? If it's not to be pure of heart, doing all of it, then what is being pure? Of course, you need to not lie. not hurt others. These are given. These akhlaqi things are given. These are moral duties that we all have. It is as wajib, not maybe even more wajib, to take care of your tongue, to take care of your hand, not to be careful what we do with our hands, with our eyes, with our tongue, with our so on and so forth. But does it make any less wajib for us to pray and fast and so on and so forth? That's also the amr from Allah. All of it is. Let's not be one of these, these propaganda pictures that they draw of many politicians where one nose is bigger than the other and then there's a small eye and a big head and so on and so forth. Let's not grow like a caricature. They call it caricature. Don't grow in that sense. Grow in every aspect of yourself. Grow knowledge-wise, grow spiritually-wise. Grow in your body-wise. It has been said in our riwayat, in our ahadith, in the sunnah of Rasulullah, to take care of your body. You take care of it. Exercise. Don't eat too much. Eat good food. Thank you. Take care of your body. It's very important. Taking care of your body causes you to what? To have a better relationship with God while you're praying. Why? Because if you have a healthy body, you can pray more. You can sit more. You can stand. You have more energy. The soul and the body are linked together, brothers and sisters. They're linked. The nishat that you feel when your soul is in a good situation, it has an effect on your body. And taking care of your body has an effect on your soul. Let's look at the lives of the ulama. Why do they live so long? What's the secret? One person came to me and said, is this something like a potion they sell in the hawza? They say, take this potion, you live to 100. No, not everyone in a hawza lives long. But those maraja that you see at that age that you see them in, and they're still working hard. I remember I was in one dars Kharij class of Ayatollah Subhani. Ayatollah Subhani, the father, not the one that is in England right at the moment, in the UK. No, the father. He is 90, I'm not exactly sure, maybe 94, 95, I can't remember. He's in the 90s, at least from mid-90s to late 90s in his age. He came in, not a single paper did he have in his hand. Not a single paper in his hand. What was he teaching? Usul al-fiqh. One of the hardest topics you can teach in the hawza. Who was he teaching it to? The students were students of 20 years, 25 years in hawza. From 10 years being in a hawza all the way till 25 and older. So it was all people that have finished, they were at PhD level. He was teaching this kind of a class with no notes, at that age, sitting on the minbar, reading all the ayahs off by heart and the hadith off by heart. Ya Allah, what is this? And then go and see what he eats. How much does he eat? And what's the food that he eats? What's the food that he eats? I will promise you he doesn't go to KFC. The food matters. Of course it matters. When we say eat right and eat the right amount, we're supposed to learn this in Shahr Ramadan. We're supposed to learn actually, if you can, it's better to have 2 meals. If not, have 3 meals, but have not too much. It has been now scientifically proven that eating too much is actually not good for you. It can cause diabetes, it can cause blood pressure, it can cause so on and so forth. It can cause all of this. Ask our local doctor from the masjid. Yeah? It can cause all of these. Let's take care of this. Is not the words of, it's the greatest doctors that has ever lived. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says this. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says this. We're supposed to learn this in Shahr Ramadan. And if we pay attention truly, if we don't eat lavishly at iftar time, we understand that after Ramadan, actually our appetites become a little bit less. We've got used to a little bit less of an appetite. Yes, that's very good. Appetite is supposed to be less. Sometimes I see, honestly, in Scandinavian countries, what they have for dinner. You would be shocked. They would have a little bit of butter on some crackers and a little bit of yogurt, and that's it. And this would be their dinner. And look how healthy they are. And this is the exact same point that I want to make in this hadith. What we're going forward with is the hadith from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. In his Mi'raj, which we read, أول الإبادة الصمت والصوم, and so on and so forth. Ya Ahmad, ميراث الصوم. And we said that قال يا ربي. What's ميراث الصوم? Here Rasulullah asked, what's the ميراث الصوم? قلة الأكل وقلة الكلام. قلة الأكل وقلة الكلام. Not just about Shah Ramadan. You use this Shah Ramadan, you continue. It doesn't end with Eid al-Fitr. It doesn't say, okay, I'm going to go back to the life I did. It was supposed to be a starting ground. It was supposed to be a foundation in the Shah Ramadan. Let's not forget about it. Let's not take the Quran and put it back on the bookshelf until next Ramadan. You were supposed to get used to reading Quran 1 juz a day. No 10 pages a day. No 5 pages a day. No 2 pages a day. Continue it. 1 page a day. At least 1 page a day. How long does it take? Honestly, how long does it take? How much time do we waste on other things? 1 page a day, you can't do that? Even if you're a slow reader, it takes 5 minutes. Even if you're the slowest reader, 5 minutes. If you can't read it yourself, there's how many applications are there now? Get an application, press it, it'll read it for you. You just look. Read translation of 1 ayah. Better than this? Easier than this? But I promise you that this will affect slowly, day by day, day in, day out. After a year, you've read the translation of 365 ayahs. But if you don't do anything, you're minus 365 after a year. And then the next year, you're minus again another 365 and another 365. It's so important. This is why Shah Ramadan came. Now, what happens when it's قِلَّةَ الْأَكْلِ وَقِلَّةَ الْكَلَامِ? It says, وَالْإِبَادَةُ الثَّانِيَةُ وَالصَّمْتُ وَالصَّوْمُ يُرِيثُ الْحِكْمَةِ. It brings hikmat. It brings hikmat. If we pay attention to non-Muslim lives, let's look at successful people. Honestly, look at their lives. Go and pick any successful people that is truly successful. We're not talking about in other things. But it is successful, is a very knowledgeable person, is a scholar of, I don't know, in whatever field that you see. Some of these mathematicians, physicists, and so on and so forth, they don't talk much. They barely, if they do talk, they say things that are worthwhile. They talk about worthwhile. Yes, they might go give a conference at a university and they might talk 1 hour. But all of their things that they say are of use, of knowledge. They barely talk about things that are not that useful. If you pay attention, they don't eat much. Most of them are very thin. I've seen a lot of them at the university. Different seminars that we go. Especially, at least in the Scandinavian country, when I've gone to Sweden and Norway and Finland. Well, not Norway, but Sweden and Finland. I've seen that it is like that. Denmark as well. And here in the hadith, it actually says it doesn't matter. It doesn't say, if you are Muslim, we will give you hikmat. That's not the case. That is not the case. Let's go and see some of these scholars of non-Islamic scholars, and let's see who are those who become Muslim. I'll give you one person as an example, Dr. Legenhausen. I had the privilege of seeing him and working with him on my master's paper. He is a fully American. Grew up in New York, was I think born in New York and grew up in New York. American, maybe apparently his grandparents or something were German, but he grew up in America. Came from a Christian family, studied philosophy in Boston University, if I'm not mistaken, and then went to Texas. He says this story, he himself. In Boston University, he said that I started to read. And one day I had an Iranian student, and this is, by the way, before the Iranian Revolution, this is years ago. Yeah, because he's much older, he's 70-something years old right now. And he said this one Iranian student that I had didn't come to class for ages. So for ages he didn't come to class. And I was thinking to him, why does he not come to class? Why have I not seen him for such a long time? Later on, I saw him in campus. And I said to him, where have you been? You know you're going to fail your class. He said, no, I'm advertising for, at the time there was a revolution was going to happen and so on and so forth. He said, I'm advertising for the revolution. This is going on. And this doctor, Legenhausen, said to him, listen, I will read every pamphlet and every book that you have. Promise me that you will start coming to my classes and I won't drop you. This is hikmah in itself. What a nice teacher. He didn't say, oh no, go away and so on and so forth. No, he was trying to help him. He said, from him I got to know of a book called Nahjul Balagha. And I started reading Nahjul Balagha. And I thought to myself, no, I'm not going to become, because he said we were Christian, but then I realized that the Christian faith wasn't for me. And I saw so many mistakes, because he studied philosophy. He said I saw a lot of philosophical issues with it. And I wasn't a Christian anymore, and his parents were very upset. And then he said, but when I was reading this Nahjul Balagha, I said, what an amazing thinker this person, Ali ibn Abi Talib, is. What an amazing thinker he is. If I'm going to follow anyone, this is his words, by the way, his words, and he's alive still. So if you go to Qom or you go to America in the summer times, he's in America, and during the year he's in Qom. He says, I said, if I'm going to follow any philosopher or thinker, I'm going to follow this person called Ali ibn Abi Talib. I'm going to follow him. And I want to be his follower if I become. He was still skeptical. He said, I found a local community in the Texas University of a few Iranians, and there was some Iraqis and from other countries and so on and so forth. I started to go to their prayer. I started to just sit down. And slowly, I started to like it. I started to ask about it, and I started to understand it. But when I became Muslim, and when he said one time, the student said to me, why don't you become Muslim? He said, honestly, I do want to become Muslim. And they said, okay, well, say it. And then he says, I was in the car park of the university, and I just said that, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu Muhammadan Rasulullah. And then I thought to myself, I know I'm a Muslim, but I want to be a follower and be associated with the writer of Nahjul Balagha. The person that Nahjul Balagha is, of course, Sayyid Razi has wrote it and gathered it up together, but of course each of them are from Amir al-Mu'minin. And he says, later on I didn't see that person, and then I found out that the Iran and Saddam war happened, and he died in the war, and so on and so forth. He said, when I told my parents, they said, oh, you're going to become Muslim, what is this? And he said, when I told them next week, I had a ticket to go to Iran. And he met a person which has passed away now, Ayatollah Misbah Yazdi, and now he works in his institution. So he started teaching there philosophy and even Christian theology and so forth. He's been there ever since. With one word, what Nahjul Balagha? What things that we have today. And untrue, by the way, when you look at his life and what he was doing, without even knowing it, he was acting upon those things that the Ma'sumin have said. This lifestyle was a lifestyle that would give him hikmah. Now what is hikmah? Hikmah is this understanding. It's not knowledge as in 2 + 2 = 4. It's a knowledge that a relationship between you and your God, between you and Allah. Otherwise, we have some philosophers that they're about to die and they say, if they ask me in the afterlife, why did you not believe in God? I will say that there was not any sufficient evidence. Well, this is a person that doesn't have any hikmah. And hikmah is supposed to bring yurithul. What is it supposed to bring? Al-hikmatu yurithul ma'rifah. It brings ma'rifah. Now that's a deeper knowledge. And ma'rifah yurithul yaqeen, which we want to speak about tomorrow. It brings yaqeen. Let's use the words of the Ahlul Bayt, brothers and sisters. Last point I want to make before we go to the next program is using from the Ahlul Bayt in the best possible way that we can. Brothers and sisters, let's not forget who we have. Let's not forget the ma'asumin, the people that Allah Azza wa Jal has brought for us to use. Ya waliyallah, inni bayni wa baynakum, bayn Allah Azza wa Jal dhunuba. Let's not forget the ma'asumin alayhi salam. I want to mention this last story to the brothers and sisters about a man This is about 80 or so, 80, 90 years ago. This story was told to one of our teachers by the person that had the key to the haram of Imam Hussein alayhi salam in Karbala. He says that once a Hindu came to Karbala and said to him that I've come all of this way to ask you one thing, and I wanted to find the main person in the shrine of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And he says, what are you asking? He said, I have been convicted of murder and they're going to execute me. I didn't do the murder. I didn't do nothing. But there are some politicians in India that are against me and so on and so forth, and they have sorted something out that they've made it look like I have killed this person. It has made it look like I killed this person, but I didn't kill them. And they're going to execute me when I get back. Now, he's had so much money. He was a very rich man. He said, I have sorted out from a lawyer from England, I've brought, and I sorted out for me, and I put a big, for example, check down so that I can come out of prison and come here. So I can come here and ask you a question. He said, what do you want to ask? He said, I want to know about the Imam you have. This Imam al-Zaman alayhi salam that you have, I want to ask you about him. He said, what do you want to ask? He said, I've heard from you Shias that I have met in my own country, I have heard that he listens to every prayer that you have. When something comes out of your lips move, he knows about it. I want to speak to him. I want to talk about yaqeen that inshallah late tomorrow we're going to mention. But look at this yaqeen this person has. Non-Muslim. And this person thinks to himself, well, what am I going to tell him? I can't tell him come into the shrine. He says, I told him, go to the nearest graveyard. There's a graveyard, the Muslim graveyard. Go there and call out, Ya Abul Hassan. Call out to him. And then speak to him. And he'll answer you. He says this man leaves. This Hindu non-Muslim person leaves in the middle of the graveyard and he starts to shout out, Ya Abul Hassan. He comes back to this man that has the key to the shrine of, we call them Kilidar in Farsi. The shrine of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. And he says, you would not believe what happened. He said, what happened? He says, I started to call out Ya Abul Hassan for 5 hours. After the 5th hour, I thought to myself, pay attention to what he says. I thought to myself, maybe he doesn't want to come because I'm not pure enough. I've made many mistakes in my life. I'm not even in his faith. I'm not even a Muslim. I'm not a Shia. Maybe he won't listen to me. He said, then I saw the hooves of a horse. I saw the hooves of a horse, but I couldn't raise my head. My head was forced to be down and I couldn't see anything. And I couldn't look up at all. And a man called out to me, what do you want? He called my name. He says, for example, Filan ibn Filan. He says his name and ibn, so his father's name. He says, I called out to him and I said, a person that knows my name and my father's name without me saying it knows my problem as well. See the ma'rifat this person has. Non-Muslim. Again, I want to do ta'keed of this. Calls out to him and says, you know my problem. If you know the name of me and my father, then you know my problem. And he says to him, don't worry about it. I've already sorted it out. A letter is going on and the evidence that you want to show that your innocence is on the way to the judge. Don't worry about it. When you go back, you'll be free. And this man starts to cry. He says, when he says that I started to see the hooves go away and he was leaving, I said, I have one more question. I have one more question. This is for me and you, brothers and sisters. This last question is for me and you. He says, I have one question. He says, go on, tell me. He says, when I was going out in the streets of Kaaba, I was seeing your Shias. He said, yes. What about them? He said, why are they like this? When they have you, why are they not asking from you? Why do they not come and ask you for their problems? Whether it be financial, whether it be spiritual, whether it be so many problems that they have in their lives. Why don't they call out to you? Imam replies to him, if anyone calls out to me with the yaqeen that you did for 5 hours and then thinks to himself, if I'm not answering, the problem is from himself and not me, I promise you I will answer them. I promise you I will answer them. We have Qad nights on the way, brothers and sisters. The Qad nights are the nights that we call out to the Imam of our time. All the world is in his hands. Malaikata wa ruh is on the night of Qad coming down to the Imam of the time. Let's remember to use wisely. Let's call out to Abul Hassan. Let's call out to him. Let's call out to the Imam, whether it be 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours. We are not deserving of him, of course. But he's so kareem, he is so kareem, that he will, of course, accept us. Inshallah, with recite salawat by Muhammad wa Muhammad.